With the release of the Lahai-Roi story finale, everybody has a lot to say and opinions to put out there. Regardless of whether those opinions are positive or negative, reviews and recaps of the 3.3's story are plentiful. Naturally, I also thought about a lot of things these past few days, and I want to throw my hat in the ring, but then I had an idea. How about we flip it? I want to hear what you have to say, before telling you what I think. To make things a bit more structured and give you a bit of motivation, I came up with 10 questions I want answered by you. Your task is to pick at least one of the questions that interests you the most to answer, and give me your thoughts on it in the comments. Of course, you are also invited to give me your general opinion on the patch so far, but my focus will be on those questions. So let's start with our first question. Who or what is the Grand Architect? With the increasing presence of our favorite little schemer ever since the end of Renacita, we are getting more and more of an impression of their personality. But 3.3 puts the cherry on top with an actual heart-to-heart conversation between them and Hioki. So what does that tell us about a thousand-faced survivor? What do you think is their background? What can they actually do? And most importantly, what does the Grand Architect want? Closely tied to the previous question, we are also beginning to see a clear goal behind the Frexodus' actions, and I want to know what your interpretation of that goal is. Did what we learned about them change your perception of the Frexodus or individual members? Was it what you expected all along, and do you support their cause? Why? Why not? I'm interested what you have to say about this one. Moving on to another related topic. What exactly is Denia? Obviously, I'm not looking for the answer, an artificial creation. I want details. How do you think she was made? What is she made of? Who specifically was involved in her creation? Try and consider everything we know about her so far and make an educated guess. Who knows, maybe you will be proven right come the second part of the patch. Was there ever a Sentinel? Ever since we learned about the role of the Exostriders, one type of question kept emerging on our collective mind. What about Lahai-Roi's Sentinel? What about the Sentinel the Strider was carrying? This question resulted in a few theories, the most popular ones connecting Lahai-Roi to Honami and Ashinohara. As we now know, no such connections have been made by the game, and it is unlikely at this point that they will be, which begs the question. Was there ever a Sentinel to begin with? What do you think? How sentient is LF1? Looking at the other side of the conflict, we got a small glimpse into the mind of the alien Trinodian, LF1. Using those glimpses, what shape does our Eldritch Space Muncher take in your mind? Do you think there's intelligence behind the whole shaped appearance? Does it have a specific goal, or is it acting on pure instinct? I will gaze upon your answer like LF1 gazes upon Rover. Related to that, do you think LF1 will return? Lahai-Roi's issues, the place, not the Strider, may have been resolved for now, but LF1 has only been banished, not destroyed. Naturally, the risk of its return persists, but will it happen during this game's story? If so, when and in what form? What leads you to that answer? Please submit your 500-word essay until the end of the week. What does LF1's banishment tell us about the beginning of the game? You may or may not have noticed, but during Lahai-Roi's spear throw, we see the same star shape from the beginning of our journey, followed by a similar twisting collapse. What do you think that is? What is the connection here? And what conclusions can we draw from that for either side? Once you are done formulating your thoughts about that, it is time to leave space behind for now and return to asking smaller, more human questions. Why did Gyokuro teach his sister so many things she wasn't interested in? Hiyuki may not have had the best childhood or communication with her sister, but one cannot deny the many skills Hiyuki acquired thanks to her sister's teachings, even those she didn't care for, like weaving or cooking. But what was Gyokuro's goal? Especially considering the one thing Hiyuki seemingly wanted, learning the family's sword techniques, wasn't one of those skills. Maybe you can figure out what I'm getting at. What foreshadowed lore aspect surprised you the most that it became relevant? Time for a bit more of an opinion piece for those who dug deeper into what Lahai-Roi had to offer. What aspect of this region's world building or what piece of foreshadowing were you most surprised by when it actually was addressed in the story? Maybe the mention of the runes left behind by the Wildstorms. Maybe the mention of Chase, the leader of the collective. Or maybe even something set up before 3.0. Let me know. And once you are done, how about the opposite? Are there any unanswered questions or unaddressed parts of Lahai-Roi's lore? What concept or piece of information established since version 3.0 do you think is too important to not have been addressed by now? Do you think we are missing certain information that you want explored further? I certainly have one or two questions, but that will have to wait until I've heard what you have to say. And there you have it. 10 questions I want to hear your answer to. As mentioned at the beginning, I don't expect you to answer all of them. Feel free to think about it a bit and choose the one that you have the most to say to, or that you think is the most interesting. That way everyone can work together to form a collective collage of what the community took from this patch. Maybe some of it will surprise you. I will do my best to summarize your collective work in another video. Until then, happy writing!